Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. All right, guys, FOMC out of the way. Big day today was very kind of a weird, hectic day. I mean, there was a lot of setups, but a lot of them were spoiled by the gap ups. They were spoiled by the gap ups, but we were able to, we had a couple of quick losers in the morning, but then finally, a lot of our midday setups kind of worked out. Apple was a nice winner for us. NVDA was nice winner, which we're gonna talk about. Semiconductors overall were strong today. We'll talk all about all that. And then we traded FOMC, which kind of worked out nicely for us. We will discuss all that, guys. Before we started, let's do a quick introduction. All these trade recaps and teachings are from any trade ideas that I talk about or share in the community. Either I share on my YouTube or either I talk about them on Twitter or X. We trade repeatable setups, guys. We do repeatable system. My repeatable system, thousands of traders across the world use to trade consistently with my repeatable Ripster EMA Cloud System. Every morning, we create a game plan for the day based upon the news plays, earnings, breakouts, technicals, upgrades, downgrades. You can clearly see the game plan in front of us today. This was our game plan for the main plays. And there was, we keep track on all the news and then we see how the day proceeds, what ticker is, if I see something out from the watch list, which is giving some, nice risk reward, I always talk about that. But I try to focus on some of the main plays which are which good today. For example, Microsoft didn't really do anything, so I didn't really talk about Microsoft much, even though it was on our watch list and game plan. In addition to this watch list and game plan, we provide a bunch of other watch lists. We provide our day 2 day 3 watch list, which is basically we take a look at our day 2 day 3 levels. PayPal was a nice winner from our day 2 day 3 a winner from our watch list. We'll talk about that. We had a Morgan Stanley upgrade, and this is a repeatable setup. You just need to use the system and the levels to trade our day 2 day 3 setups, how we trade them. So in addition to that, we also provide daily levels for all the stocks that we play every day: SPY, QQQ, IWM, VIX. We focused on VIX today. 16 was of course a good level. Apple, AMD, NVIDIA, Boeing, Amazon, Meta. You can use these levels and trade on your own. For example, Tesla, you just had to follow these levels and you could have traded Tesla long today. No problem there. In addition to that, we also started providing low float, some low float movers, low float watch list. Today there was not much, only Wind. There was a stock that's Wind that kind of came end of the day, kind of squeezed. So not much on the low float side, but we do provide this watch list for anybody who wants to trade long or short on the low float setups. And I'm usually on voice first few hours on the morning when we'll go live. We are not an alert service. We do not provide entries, exits, but any ideas I see, I guide my community what they can long, what they can short, where they should exit their positions, how to manage the risk. And, if I take some trades, I share those as well. But basically, I talk through all the trades, all the market commentary, what we are trying to do throughout the day. We try to, manage that. So anyways, guys, that was the introduction. And let's start with the first play of the day and get going. I'm going to start the day with the semiconductors, right? So semiconductors, SMH. We know there was a news. SMH is semiconductor ETF. So we know there was a bullish news yesterday, and we know the AMD had earnings, and there was a bunch of bullish news this morning. That's why SMH was one of our top on our game plans. If you see here, SMH Semis strong on Samsung earnings. The Samsung earnings came yesterday as well, which were very bullish, and AMD earnings. So the pivot, support pivot was 237, resistance pivot was 241. So if you see that semis held that 240s, 241 pivot, and it rallied all day. It was pretty strong all day, and it kind of pushed higher after the FOMC. We'll talk about that as well. So semiconductor was our watch all day, and based upon this, we were trading those names like NVIDIA, AVGO, because we create, we will go into through the individual names, because we create these watch lists and based upon the chip stocks that we are following. We tried SMCI a few times. That was not strong during the day. Most of the trades we tried were just the break-even trades on SMCI. We will discuss that as well here in a minute. So although the sector was strong, not all the stocks in semis were strong. AMD was weak, which we talk about how we traded AMD long, and then we traded AMD in the gap fill, how I guided my community through the gap fill on AMD. So, but anyways, the main today, the focus was semiconductors. I clearly provided the plan, the guidance on the pre-market plan. And, semis on watch, strong. And let's see how we use semis and to trade the individual names. Let's go to the first one. Yeah, the first one we're going to look at is NVDA. So NVDA was, of course, right, one of our main watches today. Reason being, there were a few things, right? We also had, if you look here at the bottom, Morgan Stanley moved NVIDIA back to its top pick. So we already know the semis are strong. Then we already know that Samsung AMD earnings are good. And then Morgan Stanley comes on up with the top pick, right? There's so much news, right? So much bullish news. That's why I told in the pre-market game plan. And if you're in the community, you have to see, like, you have to go through these, look at the earning plays, news plays, individual downgrade upgrades, whatever we are looking at, right? So we see that I told everybody that we are bullish as long as the clouds hold. The two levels on the NVIDIA were 109, 110 and 112. So we clearly had those pivots. We had a 112 breakout right here. We had this MTF cloud support, which is a multi-time frame 1 hour cloud, and we did have our 3450 cloud as well. So everything was planned. High conviction today on NVIDIA. So let's see how it worked out. We broke out of the 112, so that triggers our long on NVIDIA. That triggers our long. You see right here out of the gate, that triggers our long. So I was busy with other trades, but the traders were in the community were already long NVIDIA. And when I saw it holding up the strength, flagging, I was just giving them the morning targets, and we were watching the book maps. So if you see that I gave them, and when NVIDIA was trading at around our 113 level, I gave them the target of 115 and continuous guidance that then we pushed to 115, and we were looking at various book maps, right? And I gave them the next breakout as 116, which was our next breakout right here. 116. So because this is the daily MTF clouds, which 50 EMA MTF cloud, which if once cleared, the stock goes really bullish. And you can clearly see that NVIDIA never really broke down. And sometimes you have to look at the support levels. It never really broke down, up, down, up, down. So this was a range. And then FOMC came through and we were bullish, which we will talk about our trades on FOMC. And, and I told them that now, since FOMC is coming, it's going to push. I told everyone 1660 clear, then we are going to 117 and 118. That's what I told everyone. And we did clear the 116 like that. And then we started to push. And after FOMC, I told everyone we're going to push to 118. You can see that my live guidance on NVIDIA as well. Continuous guidance all day on NVIDIA. Gave the pre-market levels, gave the pre-market plan, during the day guidance, FOMC guidance. So NVIDIA was a beautiful winner, and it was a high conviction for everyone. So let's see the next one. So next one was AVGO, and AVGO was again, right? It's whatever levels. AVGO levels were 153.40 and 155. And AVGO was perfect. It broke out of both those levels for us, right? And the chips are strong, semis are strong, and then AVGO breaks out of the MTF 50 cloud. So that's always bullish when we break out of MTF. And the traders in the community already know, Prakash was on top of AVGO, Michael was on top of AVGO, continuous guidance by Prakash, RoboCash, and Nino. Everybody on the trading floor were all over the AVGO. Very great guidance. Very proud of my traders there. You can clearly see RoboCash guiding through the AVGO trade all day long, flag breakout, and beautiful all day. right? So you can see that once we break the MTF clouds, AVGO was just beautiful trade in the community. So that was AVGO, guys. So you saw all the guidance on AVGO. So beautiful trade. Let's look at something which was let's look at SMCI. So SMCI was kind of the weird one all day. You could clearly see that it's not joining the other semiconductors. Although NVIDIA was strong, AVGO was strong, bunch of other names were strong. The gap up kind of spoiled a lot of plays. SMCI was the weak one. We tried a few times. We tried SMCI in the morning versus 700. We pushed to 720. 10 points, and then it breaks, so we exit. We try in the middle of the day on SMCI versus 700. It pushed to 708, and then it came back. We stopped out, break even. So that was kind of a weird day on SMCI. You can clearly see there's no interest, no buying, but we did not let it get out of hand, or we can't lose like crazy if the stock is not moving. You clearly see it was a small 54% ATR day on SMCI, and I didn't feel comfortable swinging yet because of a lot of the earnings, but we'll be definitely watching. Again, SMCI earnings are coming up as well, so we have to be cognizant of that fact. But SMCI was kind of scratched today. I mean, I could have logged this profit. I was trading 710 calls, 720 calls, but it was one of those, right? We should have left it alone, and did not really work for us. All right, next one we're going to look at Apple. So when market was strong this morning, when I was on voice, I went through all this, all the tickers, and started looking what is that's kind of pushing SPY QQQ. What is that's making SPY QQQ strong this morning? What is that's help moving it? So then I saw that Apple was one of the stronger ones. Apple was one of the stronger ones, and that's when I told on the voice that you can long Apple. You can see here, I'll show you my live guidance. So you can long Apple, and the first target I gave on Apple right after the open was 223, and I told everyone continue to hold, and then we were flagging around. This was a 10 a.m. flag setup. We were flagging on 10 a.m. I told everyone that we are flagging, then we break out of the flag, we go to a 223 target. I told everyone log half, leave rest, and then we push into 224s, towards 224s. You can free to lock some there as well, and then we pull back later in the day, and I got out at right here when it failed to push higher before FOMC, just managing the risk. And then there was a nice trade for us from morning, nothing crazy. 222 towards $224.50 trade on Apple was not bad. That was another. And look here, right? I provide these levels because a lot of those traders are already in those trades even before I talk about that. You see Apple, we have resistance at 222, 221.45. So you position yourself in already there, and when you see those pivots break and you see the clouds, you use those levels to risk. And you can also see that there's another. This is the daily MTF 20 cloud on Apple, right? That's a daily, basically it's 2021 EMAs that's helping. A lot of these tickers are right now curling over our MTF clouds, which is multi-time frame daily clouds. So we are getting some lot of opportunities to get long based upon those clouds, right? If you look at SPY QQQ, even those they started running after they moved over the 1 hour clouds, or after they moved over 50-50 EMA clouds or MTF clouds. So yeah, so that was Apple winner for us today. Let's look at another one which was kind of working out nicely for us, but then it kind of dumped back, and there was a resistance. So let's look at it. Was a First Solar. So let's see like a First Solar. So I started long. I personally took some 230 lotos. My first target was 226. I gave everybody the first target, right? You see I started long at 932, and my first target was 226, which I gave, I mentioned at 930, 940s. And First Solar did push. I mean, we pushed right into 227, right into those daily EMAs, right? We pushed right into those daily EMAs, and then we rejected there. And that's why we knew that. That's why I was giving the 226 target. I was up 46% on my 230s, right? We were up like almost $6-7. The 430 230 lotos were pushing, and then it rejected, and then it pulled back. I was very quick to get out, because when the price breaks under the opening lows, I don't want to hold it. And you can see what First Solar did after that, and it tanked all the way down, right? And there was no rate cuts. Solars didn't like that, and they came back all the way. So yeah, that was our First Solar. But definitely watching it for coming days. I think the day the solars run, the First Solar is going to give us a nice trade back from this 200 level, back towards the highs, right? 23 billion market cap. It's still a good setup as long as it keeps holding this 210s. For solar, we will be watching that one. So anyways, that was for solar. A nice looking setup. Keep eyes on it. I'll put the chart. I'll tweet it out as well. Let's look another one, which was a long loser this morning, but again, it was an amateur move, right? New traders don't understand. There was somebody in the community who was like, "Rip, you were just long, and you just went short. What's going on?" Because we trade system, right? We trade system. We don't care. If it's a long and long fails, I will turn short right away without blinking my eye. Right, so that was pins today. Let's look at it. Right, pins was 34 trigger long. You get long on it but when you see this bearish candle, you get out right away. I was out in 3-4 minutes right away. I told everyone I'm out. Look what it's rejecting. It's rejecting 1 hour EMAs. Right, out, short if stays heavy. I told that at 9:36, and look at it. Short, if you shorted it, on anywhere right here, you easily made $30, or maybe 20-30% on your puts, because it's clearly a bearish candle at the open, and then rest of day fade. I gave the target of 30-50, and we met much more than 30-50. Okay, so that was pins, guys, today. So there was the pins. You should be ready to change your buys when you're trading these setups. All right, let's now look at the main play of today, AMD. Lot to learn from this AMD trade. There is so much to learn from this. So listen carefully what I said. Okay, so when we first looked at AMD in the morning, our plan was pretty clear. Maybe I can show you AMD right here on this chart. Yeah, so, or maybe I can just go there, right? So let's look here. So look here, right? We are gapping up. We have these levels already set up in the pre-market right here. Okay, so in the pre-market planning on AMD, 145 was the support, 144, 145, resistance was 150. I told trade versus 150, cautious under 148. So we have two important levels, 148, 150. So I was not long right away. No, not right away, but when it pulled back to 148 and it swiped back, as soon as you see that, you get long. That's why I told everyone confirmed long. And 153 was our first target, and 153 was our first breakout. And then AMD pushed. That's fine. AMD started to push. And of course, you can take a starter on the pullback as well. That 148 level that I gave you guys, you clearly see that we bounced upon right from that 148 level that I gave. But I always try to watch it, and this is not the first time. This happens again and again and again. So and as soon as it pushes back over 150, that's where you enter. So we enter right long 150. We target 153. Now we are waiting to see this breakout, guys. We are waiting to see this breakout. If a candle is not closing or above it, then it's a problem, right? You see the rejections. That's the first warning signal, and we were looking for 155. First warning signal. Suddenly the VIX becomes strong, and then AMD breaks this 512. You get out right away, or reduce your exposure. I got out right away, right? Didn't want to lose, right? Because if you are adding right here, you're gonna lose $2, and you already have a bad entry if you're adding here, so you're gonna lose $2. So you get out right away. And then I told everybody AMD stuck in the range. We are managing risk, right? We are not adding long here. That's not what we do. We are adding long initially on this push, expecting making higher lows and breakout of 153, and eventually pushing to 155 and 160s. When you see lower lows, lower highs, and you can see that I continuously tell my people that something is wrong. Breaking 512, reduce exposure, right? Cut your positions. Then I even told them later, we are bearish. We are bearish. My first warning was right here, and then I told them that if it goes under 3450, no go. I don't want to long this thing. I don't like lower highs, lower lows, and then we break, and then we reach our 148 level. I told everybody, if we break 148, don't hold longs. It can gap fill, and that's what it did. It broke 148, and I was continuously on voice and telling everybody nobody should be long, and short is fine, and you're gonna see it fade to 145. I gave the 145, we saw 145 target, right? Then we hit 144. That's where we closed our shorts. We closed our shorts, but there was no confirmed long because you can see it was just bouncing from 1 hour Ripster clouds, and then it rejected from 512 EMA Ripster clouds. You can see the rejection again. Why it's not a long? Because system is not telling you to long. That's why. If you try to long here, you lost money because it was a C minus long. You clearly see, I repeat it every day, there is no long. And then it fades more. Yeah, later it came over 512s, but again, it could not get over 3450, was choppy. We'll watch it tomorrow. We'll see how it does. Maybe it's long or not. But the point I'm trying to make is to show you, how to save your money. We were not losing. Nobody gets bagged here. That's fine if we lost here. We can make money shorting, right? From 150 all the way to 144. That was a $6 short. Even if you lost $2 long, and that's how you have to manage the bias. That's why you have to respect the system. Look where it rejected Ripster EMA Clouds, and look, it kept on fading. That's the beauty of the system, guys. There's no other system which will show you and work so much flawlessly, because when it works, it pays you a lot. When it doesn't, you lose a little bit. And that's the secret of success. You make sure your losers are small, losers are fine, but they should not be big, but the winners are big. That's what you want. So if you are in a put, you should hold your puts until your targets meet. You scale out. Then your puts go 100, 200, 300%. You risk $1 on your short if you're shorting 149, and then you make $5, right? You risk $1,000, you make $5,000. That's the how you trade these setups. So AMD, very interesting case study today. How to trade the gap ups, a failed gap and go, a failed rejection. This was a big failed breakout. When there's a failed breakout, triple top, you see that, and there's going to be a deadly gap fill. You see the level I gave in the pre-market, that also gave up, and we fell through all the way down. All right, guys, let's talk about Tesla next quickly. Let's see how did Tesla do for us. What was the plan on Tesla? So Tesla, our levels in the pre-market were pretty clear. We had 226, 227, 37. And not only that, Tesla was right at 1 hour EMA Clouds, so which is a very bullish, right? It is of course a bullish, right? If you're crossing the 1 hour EMA Clouds, you see 1 hour 50 EMA so strong. So that's what I told everyone, triggered over MTF long as well. And Tesla, long story short, I guided everybody through the trade, 234 and 235s all day long. A lot of traders in the community are like, Rip, some new traders who don't know what we're doing. I talk about all the stocks that are moving, and I try to pick the best ones and guide through the best ones. And Tesla, as we know, you have to come early. Traders who come early, 1 hour, half an hour early, they are in better shape. They're already focusing on. Some traders don't even trade anything in our community. They focus on Tesla. Anyways, even if you took the Tesla, when I told, right, but you should know the plan. You should not blindly take the Tesla trade. You should know that Rip gave this level in the pre-market. This is where the EMAs are. This is where the risk level is, and then you take the long. Anyways, I gave 234 final target, and even after 234, we continue to push. We had our flag, and we broke the flag and continue to push. Nice win today, Tesla in the community. So there was another loser, which I didn't expect to be a loser, but it turned out to be a loser, Mastercard. It was pushing nicely. I told everybody to long it in the morning, but then it pulled back. I tried to long it at 461s, and then it gave up and then broke 512. And you take a loser and move on. It happens sometime, right? Because usually you're expecting it to hold this level, right? You hold this level and move higher, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. But Mastercard did not do that, and then it was one of our losers, $4 per share for me here. But that's a part of the game, right? You just, as long as you cut right here, you're fine. You should not be holding until here. All right, let's look at next one. Next one was LMND. LMND, again, these were all from our pre-market game plan, right? 20, 20, 80 was two levels on LMND. When market opened, I saw it heavy and it rejected MTF clouds. Then it just faded all day, faded initially, and then bounced, then faded all day as well. So it was just a short. You see how the MTF clouds break down, and it never could get over 512s. You could easily scalp the short side here, with your risk is over 1950, and as long as it keeps falling, you can scalp it. There was another one from the game plan today. It was a DD dew point, and lifted for your guidance, breakout over 84.40. That was the plan. I kind of mistyped it. So I kind of mistyped it when I was talking about it. I think I said DU. So that's why a lot of traders didn't see what I was saying there. But anyways, the DU broke out of 8 or 40.50 and pushed to 8.40, 8.512. It's nothing crazy. I mean, it was kind of little choppy trade. But just wanted to show you that how the breakout works, right? How these plays work out. It kind of pulled back right into the clouds, and that's what I said here. I said that we can pull back. Where did it go? DD pull back, and short under that and break out over that, and it pulled back, swiped back, and then broke out, pulled back, and then broke out again. Was a little kind of choppy, not an easy trade, but it's good to make a screenshot of such trades and see how they work out. This breakout was retested again, but it could never break out of 85. Scratch there. Next one we're going to look at is ANET. ANET was on our watch list today. Let's see. ANET was number 3 on the watch list. Long the cloud pullbacks, no long under 320 or 322. So you see this one again is over the 50 EMA on daily chart. It's exactly like AVGO, which is over our daily chart. And good thing about that is it went into a flag setup. For the initial day. You can see that, right? And this was all day people were long on ANET in the community. Great guidance by a lot of traders in the community, especially Daniel was on top of it. He took a long position in the morning. He guided everybody through that long, and you can see that from 332 334s, which were our levels right here in at 333s, it held that 333s and continued to push flag breakout into 341, broke 512s and reclaim. And this is always very, very bullish. When something breaks 512s and reclaims right away, guys, you get in right away because this is very bullish. And then it continued to push when FOMC hit, and then it continued to go to 350, right? From 333, 350, $17 long winner ANET for the community. Great guidance by Win as well. We watched the flag. Beautiful winner in the community on the long side ANET. All right, let's look at SFM. So SFM was our day 2 setup. I often talk about the day 2 setups, right? You can see SFM was here, and there was our day 2 setup 95, 97, 55, and both of those levels are breaking out. That's the reason I give you these day 2 setups. And if the day 2 setup was from yesterday, it's even better. You see that's breaking out here. You take long, you put your stops here, you ride it all the way. And SFM was a guidance all day by RGV in the community. You can see that all day was guiding as well. So it was a day 2 setup. Even the midday setup was really nice on SFM if you just wanted to scalp that from right here 9900 psychological level. So there was another big winner on a day 2 setup. That was our PayPal. That's why this strategy is so easy and so simple, because people forget about it. These trades are not crowded because everybody moves on, and I cover in detail in my day 2 day 3 webinar. You should watch it, how the institutions come in and start to buy the stuff. So PayPal yesterday went to the sideways, and today, here you go, PayPal, profit target 71 by Morgan Stanley, and it triggered long. It triggered long right away. What were our levels on PayPal? Right here, 64, 65, 30, break 65, 30, and off to races it goes. Here's push to 69, 69. You should be out here and making nice profits on a day trade. Simple, easy setups, guys. Can't be much better than that. So next one we're going to look at Kraft Heinz, and it has been strong all day. And this is I didn't really talk about in the chat, but I was talking about, you see how it breaks out of 34.54 level here, and then it continues to go right. This is what I wanted from Mastercard and other setups. Just make a screenshot of these setups, which setup is going, and you see this one is again our 1 hour EMA Clouds. All right, let's talk about FOMC now. I have a lot of other videos on FOMC in the past where we have successfully traded FOMC. Sometimes we sit on the hands. The rules are simple on FOMC. The real moves come either when Powell is speaking or when Powell is done. Now, when Powell was speaking, I would add this into my previous playlist of how to trade FOMC. Then we were bouncing from this 3450 EMA clouds, and I noticed a lot of strength in IWM. Why? Because IWM is rate sensitive, and I saw this breakout, and of course we trade TNA. So of course SPY QQQ were good longs. This was the setup. You ask me what was the setup, Rip? What were you trading? This was the setup. Although I did make a disclaimer that there can be a VP action. There can be a VP action when Powell is speaking, so trade accordingly, right? So you can see that this was the setup right here that we were kind of trading, and it was all over. It was same in all four of them: IWM, TNA. So you can see that. So when I'll just go back to the time when Powell came in, it was started speaking. Let's look here. Okay. Okay. Let's see. So as soon as Powell started speaking, VIX started to go down, and I told market is bullish, 3450, can be little wicky. I said you can scalp long QQQ, but be conscious of Powell. Don't size too big. I mean, don't size that much that if it comes back, you lose a lot of money, right? So that's what we're doing. You see this breakout right here, this breakout right here. And then I also grabbed SMCI lotos, which I closed break even because today was not the day for SMCI. And AMD was also curling. That was good. And then Powell said rate cuts could be in September. And then I talked about IWM and TNA, which are breaking out as well. I was on a live stream. I told everybody both are good long, right? They're breaking out of this flag, breaking out of highs, and the target I gave on IWM was let me show you 228s and 51s. That was the two targets I gave, and you can see that I told them 10 minutes ago at 244. 244 is when I talked about that, and we met our 228 target, right? That's good enough. And then TNA target was 51. From 225 to 228, from 49, 50 to 51. That was a lot of money to make. You could trade 1,000 shares of TNA. You make $1,000 here. You could trade some options here. You could easily make 30, 40, 50% on the IWM. Even though QQQ and SPY was not that great, but then once we hit our targets, I told everybody lock half, right rest. And then when Powell was almost done speaking and we met our targets, that's when I told everybody, we were looking for 229 target. That's when I told everybody get out. 308 I closed everything. We closed everything right close to the top. You can see right here, right close to the top, because I know when Powell is done speaking, we have seen from our past experiences the things can tank. And look where we closed, and it tanked right back. Where we closed, tanked right back. Imagine how much money we would have lost if we held it. So that's why I try to tell my traders that always tell, if I'm trading something, this is how you manage it. And we exited IWM in time. So definitely, was not a bad FOMC at the end of the day for us, because we were able to trade IWM and TNA. And for tomorrow, we'll see. If VIX breaks 16, we should be looking at a bullish day, but VIX is still flagging. I'm not sure. So another big earning left. I think Apple is left. So we'll see how it goes. But anyways, hopefully you like today's recap, guys. Hopefully you learned something. Take care. See you guys later. Bye bye.